Hey there guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are doing good. Hope you guys are staying safe. Today we're going to be working on deploying a Next.js, well this one's 14, Next.js 14 application. So I've seen on YouTube or just around that Vercel is usually where people just deploy it to, which makes sense. I mean, Vercel, Next.js kind of go hand in hand. But today we're going to be doing something different. So today we're going to be deploying to a VPS. So I believe I showed you guys how to deploy a full stack MERN application, so Node.js and React to a VPS as well. So we used Hostinger. Well, what do you know? We're going to do it again in this one. So we're going to be deploying a Next.js 14 application on Hostinger as well, using their virtual private server. So I'm going to walk you through how to set it up. Now, the only difference is I'm not going to show you the whole thing on how to. So the only difference is I'm not going to show you basically how to like purchase a VPS. I did that in the last video, so I'm just going to link it to this one, or maybe I'll put it in the same playlist. Don't know yet. I'll figure it out. But a link at least will be included with this video to show you how I did it when I did the MERN stack deployment. For this one, we're going to be deploying what we worked on in our last project, which was the entertainment app project. Now that playlist is definitely going to be linked to this one. So if you want to take a look at that, go ahead and knock yourself out. But we were pretty much done with it, meaning we finished out the basics of it. We haven't added authorization or anything like that. I haven't expounded more on the project, but once we do, I'll be sure to post that later. But for now, we're gonna start where we stopped, which pretty much is just deploying what we have so far. So with all that being said, ouch. So with all that being said, let's get right into it. All right, so here we are on Hostinger's homepage, and we're going to be heading to the VPS section. And like I said just a couple of seconds ago, I'm not going to be showing you how to purchase a VPS because I did that in a prior video, which should be linked to this. That one was the one where we deployed our MERN application. So I showed you how to go about purchasing the VPS and setting it up on that one. So just in the interest of time, I'm just going to show you how to access the VPS. So you're just going to go into VPS here. You're just going to click on manage, and let's just close out of that for right now. So as you can see, we have our VPS information right there. What we have to do now is just we're going to need our SSH access, because that's how you get into your VPS. So you're just going to need that SSH IP. Now, another thing I'm going to show you here, which I also did in the last video, but it just makes more sense for me to go over it also here. So if we go back to home, we're going to be able to set up our DNS configuration in order to deploy this website. So I already have a domain name registered with Hostinger. So if I head over to hosting and I scroll down here to DNS zone editor, so I already have my website with Hostinger. So now that I have a VPS, what I'm gonna do now is head over to manage DNS records, and the type here, we're gonna keep it as a type. The name is what we're gonna call our subdomain. So for example, if I head over to entertainment.boltluna.io, this shows the application we worked on. So this is my prototype application, I guess you could say, not the one we both worked on together. But as you can see, my actual website is boltluna.io. The entertainment portion of that URL is the subdomain. So entertainment.boltluna.io is the subdomain of my domain. So if you're looking to just make it a subdomain rather than purchase like a domain name just for this project, which is what I would recommend. I would recommend you use a subdomain for this project rather than purchasing a whole domain name just to host this project. It wouldn't make that much sense. So to do something like this, here we're just going to call it Let's call it cinema. So that's what we're going to call it. So we're going to call it cinema. It points to, now remember how I was talking about that VPS SSH. So we're just going to go open this VPS in a new tab. When we come over here, we can go to manage. Now we can get that IP address. So we're just going to copy that IP address, go over to our DNS, and it's going to point to that IP address. And you're just going to do exactly this. You're going to add a record, and once you add it, that's fine. Just confirm, and it's going to tell you right here, DNS created successfully. Now if you go over there, it's not going to say anything. So what did we call it? We called it cinema, right? If I can just remember what it's called. Yep, cinema. So if we go over there to cinema.boltluna.io, yeah, as you can see, there's nothing there. So we just go ahead and close out of that. So now that we're in our VPS, so we can now head over to VPS. So let's go back here really quickly. Here's just where we manage our DNS records. So we're pretty much done with this. So let's go ahead and close that. Now we're back in our VPS, right? So as we're back here, we need to go to SSH access. For those of you who just created the VPS or are new to it, you're going to have a username, which is going to be called root. You're going to have a SSH password where you can change. I'm not going to click that, so you can't see any actual real credentials. But this is basically all you need. You need that username, you need the password, and the SSH IP. So if we come over to our project and we come over here, we can just CD out of this and clear. So we just CD out of that, right? And now we can say SSH root, because that's what our username is. Our username just says root. Username SSH username is root, and it's gonna say and we're gonna say, where is it at, and we're just gonna copy this SSH IP and we're gonna paste it in there. And when we do that, as you can see, now we have to enter our passkey, which is going to be what you saved as your SSH password. So I'm going to go ahead and yeah, so it's exactly what you saved as SSH password. So I'm going to go ahead and type mine in. So the minute you put in your password, you're going to see a bunch of things. So you're going to see this, you're going to see the information about your VPS. So you're going to see where your last login was. Now it says 9 updates can be applied immediately. I'm not going to worry about that right now. So what we're going to do is, so in this project, I don't know if I mentioned earlier, but we're going to keep it to the same standard we held the last one, where it's going to be just 10 steps. So this is just going to have 10 steps to deploy Next.js 14 and our DNS setup. So in total, everything's going to be 10 steps. So step 1 was basically connecting to our VPS using the SSH. Now all we have to do is update our VPS. Sudo apt-get update. There we go. So syntax matters, I guess. So you're going to say sudo apt-get update. So it's going to get all the updates. Now what you want to say is sudo apt-get upgrade. So now you're just bringing the VPS up to speed. You're just updating and upgrading it. So upgrade. There we go. So let's do that again. All right, so we're done. So that's all I had to do. Yeah, so that's all we have to do. Now for step number 3, what we want to do is install Node Version Manager, because we're going to be using Next.js. So we're going to have to install Node Version Manager. So what we want to do is we want to come over to our browser here, and we're just going to go into Google, and within Google we're just going to say Node Version Manager, and let's see, there we go. So we go right into Node.js, nodejs.org. Download package manager is the URL here. So we're gonna click on that, and as you can see, we're brought right into the Node package manager here. So in order to install Node.js, you got to find the one that's current. So I'm going to put 21.73. Let's use that one. I'm running it on Mac OS. So you can go ahead and pick whichever operating system you're working on, and we're going to be using NVM. So all you have to do is copy the clipboard here. Once you copy the clipboard, you don't really need this anymore. We can just come over here, we can just paste that in there. As you can see, we're just gonna, there we go, we're just gonna run it, and mine's gonna say it already basically has it. So verifies blah blah, where is it? So here it's gonna say download and install Node.js, NVM install 21. Verifies right, Node.js version is in the environment. Node version should print 21.7.3. So basically what it's saying, if we run this node version command, this is the version we should get. And it's gonna tell me that NVM is already installed. I'm not trying to update it, it's already installed, so let's just forget about that. But in order to double check, what we're gonna say is node v, and as you can see, it says version 21.7.3, and here it says now using node 21.7.3. so it shows that that is exactly what it's doing. It is correct. Now we can clear out of that. So for step 4, what we want to do is install git. So we're going to say sudo apt-get git install sudo apt-get, sorry, get install git-all, and it's gonna install. So it's saying git-all is already the newest version, meaning I already have this, but you guys should see something a little different. You should see the reading package list, build-in dependency tree, and read-in state information, all that stuff. But for right now, I already have mine installed, so that's why it's just showing git-all is already the newest version. So we can clear out of that. Now for step 5, what we want to do is we want to install an advanced process manager for Node.js. So we're going to be installing PM2, and what PM2 does is it allows you to start, control, stop the node processes. And the way we go about that is npm install PM2 at latest, and just and let's see, clear npm I PM2 at latest G. There we go. So once we put that in, it's going to install the latest version of the PM2 we're looking for, that we're going to be using, I mean. And I'm going to show you what PM2 really does later on. For right now, just know it helps start and stop in your node processes. It also controls it, but we'll get to that later. So now for part 7, we're going to install Nginx. Now Nginx is an open source software that we use for reverse proxying and load balancing and caching and things of that sort. So basically, if you're running your application on a local host, for example, so for example, our application runs on localhost, I believe 3000 or something like that. Now you can't run, technically you can, so the port is 3000, so you can technically run it on your, so technically you can run that port number concurrently with your subdomain technically. So let's say we were running it on port 3000, you just have to add that port 3000 to your URL. However, just even thinking about that is kind of ludicrous because no one does that. So in order to make localhost 3000 run just like it run as a subdomain or as a domain, you have to reverse proxy it. So that means if it's running on localhost port 3000, we're gonna make sure the connection is there where it says, okay, if I'm running on localhost 3000, I'm running online on the browser as cinema.entertainment. What did we call it? cinema.boatluna.io, which was the website name we gave it. So that's what it does. Now, explaining it without seeing it might be a little weird and not easily digestible, but when I finish with this installation this that we're doing, then you're able to see what's really going on, what I'm talking about. So in order to install, actually, yeah, that's fine. So in order to install Nginx, we can just say sudo apt install Nginx. There we go. Why? There we go. So like I said, I already have that package. So it says Nginx is already the newest version. So I already have it, but you guys should see something a little different from what I'm seeing, because it should download it. So now what we want to do now is we want to create something called an ecosystem configuration for our PM2 setup. So if you want to use Next.js, with the VPS, at least with Hostinger's VPS, Ubuntu, we need this ecosystem.config to manage our Next.js application with PM2. So without the ecosystem file, all the configurations has to be done every time you start the application. So you have to specify it, specify basically all the options for our configuration every time you start the app. So for example, you would have to set up the environmental variables, execution mode, the instances and parameters within the all those parameters within the command line. So that's a little tedious and not efficient at all. So with this ecosystem, you're just telling it exactly what it needs to know, and when you start up your server, it just runs the commands within that ecosystem. So what we want to do now is create that ecosystem. So we're going to say vim. So we're going to be using vim. So vim ecosystem system, I don't want to spell this wrong, vim ecosystem.config.js. so ecosystem, there we go. And now in order to do so, we're going to say so you can, if you hit Shift I, you'll be able to insert things within the text. So you're going to be able to insert text within it, within the Vim. Now you can say module.exports is equal to, and then we're going to open up this. Let's give it some space here. Awesome. And here you're going to say app. It's going to be an array of objects. So let's make sure an array is, let's see, let's give it this, there we go, and then that. Cool. So let's do this. And here we're going to say name. We're going to call it next app. And so if you come over here to, let's see, let's bring this down a bit. If you come over here to package.json, it's pretty much, you're taking a lot of this. You're pretty much setting something like this up. So let's just keep going. So name is next app. You can call it whatever you want. Name is next app. Script, we're going to be using npm. Just make sure we're putting this commas as well. And then we're going to say args is going to be start. Awesome. Now we're going to say watch, and that's going to be true. We're going to say env, and within the env, we're going to say node. Let's come back one. We're going to say node, capital, all caps, node env. And this is going to be production. Now, here's an important aspect. So now we're going to say port is technically this port is running on 3000, but because I already have applications on my VPS running on 3000, I'm just gonna call this port, let's say port 10,001. So we're just gonna call it that for now. Let's see. Awesome. And that's practically it. So that's the whole thing. So when we're done with that, we want to save and exit. So before we actually write the command to exit, what you want to do is hit the escape key, and then that way you're out of the insert mode, the write mode, and now you can say shift colon WQ, and that right there saves that file. So now let's work with, so let's clear this. Let's see, let's do this first. So let's say cat cat, so cat ecosystem.config.js, and this is going to show us what we have, and we're able to double check to make sure that's correct. So that's exactly what we need, and then we can clear out of it. So once we're done with that, now we can actually start working with our app. Like, we can start working within the application. So when we go into our package.json, what we want to do now is, so if you're running yours on 3000, you don't really need this step, but for those who don't want to run it on 3000, you can go ahead and do this. So we're going to say next dev, and you're going to say -p, and you're going to give it the so let's come over here first. So here we said the port number was 10,001, so we're going to give it the port of 10,001, and then for start also we're going to say -p 10,001, and you're just going to save that. So now that that's saved, whenever we run this, it's going to run on localhost 10,001. That's all we're practically saying here. So after doing so, now we can clear out of that, and now we want to so we stopped on step 8 technically, which was configuring our actually we stopped on step 7, which was creating the ecosystem. So we have 3 more steps to go, but before that we're going to take a break and actually work, like I said, on our application before we finish up our VPS deployment. So here what we want to do is say let's go in here, let's go in our let's list the items within our VPS, and we want to create a directory. So we're going to say make directory, and this directory we're going to call it next. Well, here's the thing, I already have next app here, so I can call this next app project YouTube. Let's do that. Long name, but and then now we can cd into it, next app project YouTube, clear out of that, and here is where we're going to install. I said install. Here's where we're going to clone our Git repository. All right, so now that we've gone to GitHub and grabbed our and grabbed the link to our repo, all we're going to say is git clone, and then we're just gonna paste that link. So for those of you who've been asking me about the link to this project, this is the link. I'm gonna link it down below, and I'm also gonna link it in the playlist of this this project. So we're gonna go ahead and just click enter, and you can see it's saying cloning into it. And now when you clear out of it, if you do ls, you can see we have the Next.js YouTube, and that's what our application is called. So now you can clear out of that. Actually, no. So let's cd into it. Now we can clear out of that. So when we cd into it, what we want to do now is we want to set up our PM2. We want to set up our Nginx. So we want to do things like that. So now, in order to configure Nginx as a reverse proxy for our application, what we want to say is sudo nano etc Nginx/sites available, and we're gonna say slash entertainment. Actually, what did we call it? We called it cinema.boltluna.io. So here you're gonna place your own subdomain or just the domain you're using. So either or, you're just gonna place it right after this site's available / you're gonna place that in there. So you're gonna do this, not found. So let's do this again. So did we put sudo nano /etc. Actually, let's go to let's come here, let's come to my page really quickly, and I can just copy and paste this. So let's go to my videos and let's go to the project I've been talking about. So if I hit more here, as you can see, I have pretty much everything we need here. The only thing we didn't do is install MongoDB. That's because we didn't need it for this. So, but every command that we're gonna need is here. So I'm just gonna grab this because this is what we need, and then we can close out of that. And now let's just clear out of this, and then let's try this again. Except this is gonna be called cinema. There we go. So as you can see, it says cinema.boltluna.io. Now we can go ahead and actually insert into it. So because I don't want to type all that out again, let's go back to that. So let's go back to that. Let's see, to that video. Right here is fine. And we're just gonna grab, we're gonna grab this, and this is the configuration. So hopefully I don't need that again because I keep, so we just paste it in there, and that's pretty much it. So let's go back. So let's exit. We don't want to save, no. So I just want to show you what's going on again. So we go back, and this time it's sudo nano space /etc /nginx /sites available / remember, it's either just your domain name or your subdomain, which is what I have here, my subdomain. When I hit enter, and now if I go so there's nothing at the top here. If you slide up and down, it should be empty, and then I can go ahead and so sliding up and down, it's empty. It's just, this is the cursor here, or the point where it starts over here. So now if I say command V, now I can slide up, and as you can see, it says server listen 80. Server name is we're gonna change this. Let's see, and this should be cinema.boltluna.io. and the next part is very important. So the next part, as you can see, says http localhost 10,000. Remember, we're running this on 10,001 now, so this is going to be 10,001, and all this is found literally on that video I just showed you, like in the description. That's where it is. You just copy that. All you're changing is the server name would be your domain name, and or your it's either your domain name or your subdomain. And you're just, the proxy pass is the only thing you're gonna have to configure, which is gonna be what port you're running your application on. That's it. And then we're just gonna hit Control X, and now we want to save it. So yes, and then enter. So we can clear out of this, and once we're done with that, we're pretty much all set. So now we want to enable that configuration by creating the symlink. So you can just go to that video I showed you again and grab the command from there. That's what I did. So you're gonna say Control V, and this is what it looks like. So sudo ln -s, and then you're gonna put all this. However, once again, you're gonna go over to where you see your domain or your subdomain, and you're just gonna make sure that is done correctly. So that's cinema nano.bootloader.io, and then it ends here. Sudo nginx t is to test it, and then you're gonna reload your nginx. So as you can see, it says the configuration file is okay, the syntax is okay, so the test is successful, and now you can clear out of it. You're all done. Now we're gonna work with the PM2 for this now. So in order to do this, before we do that, let's run the build command for our application. So let's say npm. First, we got to do npm install. So let's do that. Actually, let's ls into our what is it called again? CD into entertainment app. That's what it's called. Entertainment app. Clear, and then within entertainment app, we're gonna say npm install, and just install all the dependencies there. Should take a minute or so, a couple of seconds, depending on how large your file is. So it's gonna say npm install. It's gonna be done in a second or so. Okay, let's just wait for this to finish up. All right, so we're done with that. Now you're able to say npm build. So you're gonna run the build command. So clear npm run build. There we go. So we're gonna run the build command. So it's creating an optimized production build.
Music licensing reimagined.
Okay, so I don't know why that's saying I might need something, but let's see. Let's just make sure there's no errors here. Okay, so it's saying something about my API key. Let's see if it still runs with or without it. It should still be good. So now we have all that. What we want to do now is say PM2. Actually, let's not do that first. Let's go ahead and secure our application with an SSL. So we have to install a certbot and Nginx plugin. So let's go back to that video. And the reason I keep going back to this because it's an easy one, you get to see what video I'm talking about. Two, it's an easy copy and paste. So let's just go over here and we're gonna copy this. So it's step 9. So we're gonna close that. Hopefully, once again, we don't need to use that particular one again. So we're gonna do that, and then now all we have to do is just put in that subdomain. So cinema.bootloader.io, and we're gonna do this. So it's requesting a certificate, and if this is your first time, it should ask you for your email address. If not, you're okay. That means you've probably used the VPS before for something similar. So we're done with that. So now let's do one more thing. So now we want to open the necessary ports in the firewall. So let's go back to that video again and grab the command. So we're just going to grab this command. So it's going to be number 10. And then we're just going to be allowing the SSH, HTTP, HTTPS. That's pretty much it. So we're going to grab all those commands. That's definitely the last one. So going to do this. There we go. Yep. You're just going to continue. Awesome. Now we're going to run our PM2. Okay. So now we're going to run our PM2 command, and we're going to say PM2 start, and we're going to say ecosystem.config.js. So when we hit this. Let's see, ecosystem. Oh, did we make an error? Yes, we did. So let's go over here. That's the error we made. So we didn't write our PM2. Okay, I got it. So let's go ahead and do this. I don't know if I didn't save. I lost track. I don't know if I didn't save or I just put in the wrong file, but we can create that ecosystem file again. So we're just gonna say vim ecosystem.config.js. All right, it says new, so I don't know if I just didn't save it. So since we've already done it before, I'm just gonna speed through it. Module, insert, shift, insert. There we go. Module exports is equal to this. Cool. And now we can state name is gonna be next app. Script is npm. args is going to be start. Watch is going to be true. env is going to be an object. Awesome. Node env production port. Well, we said port was going to be 10,001. Cool, and that's pretty much it. So let's go ahead and escape, and then shift WQ. Now let's try that command again. There we go. So now we can say PM2. Let's see. Do we have it here? There we go. PM2 start ecosystem.config.js. There we go. So, yep. So it's being run as next app. So what we can do is we can rename it, and we'll just say so it should be 2 hyphens name, and the name would be cinema. There we go. So it was 2 hyphens. That's what we're missing. So it's PM2 restart. You're gonna grab the index ID or just the ID number, and then restart 8. So mine is ID 8. 2 hyphens name, and you're gonna be renaming it to cinema. So once that's done, now we can let's get out of here. So let's clear this out. So when that's done, now we can check to see if our app is truly running. So let's go to Chrome. Now we can go to cinema. So let's see. And just like that, I guess we missed something. So that's what it was trying to tell us. So our .env file was probably not properly set. So it's not able to, yeah. Let's allow this really quickly and let's see if it does what it's supposed to do. Yeah, I don't think it will, because for some reason our env did not set, and that's correct. So what we're missing is we failed to create a .env file here. So that's what the problem was. So what we can do is just say vim .env. So we just created within entertainment app, and once you do that, you go into your .env. I'm not going to go into mine, but you go into .env. Once you go into .env, you're going to copy and paste everything, and the way to go about that is, well, you just click on env, copy everything in there, paste it in here, and then you save the file. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll see you at the end of that one. Cool. So once you do that, once you do your .env, and for those who don't know how to save it, it's going to be press escape first, and then shift:\wq and enter. So escape, and then shift:, so you're putting a colon, and then WQ and then enter, and then it will save. So it's write and quit, so it's gonna save, and that's it. And then once you do that, now you have to run that build again. So npm run build. So that was the reason why. So you run build now. It's gonna create an optimized build, production build. And once it's done, let's see, we shouldn't get that error anymore. So we're getting that error due to, yep, as you can see, we didn't get that error. So now we can go to PM2 and list. So it lists everything we have, and all you want to do is just restart number 8, which is the cinema one. So you're going to say PM2 restart 8. Now we can clear out of that, and once we open it, let's refresh the cinema, and boom, just like that, we're done. Let's go to location. Let's see if that works. It should, because we allowed it to see our, there we go, we allowed it to see it. So just like that, we're done. And that's it. That's how you you deploy an app to the deploy a Next.js 14 app to your host in your VPS. Oh, before I leave, let me just also show you this. So Visual Studio Code, now that we're done with this, we can go ahead and just clear, and then we can cd out of there. So cd, and you don't want to keep your SSH signed in. You don't want to remain signed into your SSH. So what you're going to do is you're going to say exit, and that's it. So it's going to say connection to your SSH is closed, and it says log out, exit. You just want to clear out of there, and that's it. You're all done. So with all that said, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.